one of the people who helps this event go and run so good and makes everything look so good. And check out them glasses. I want them glasses.
These are my Tim Gillette glasses here. See, this is I wear them just for you.
Do you?
Well, you got those yellow, the blue blockers that you have, and I'm like, man, these are cool. I bought these because my eyes get tired of looking at the screen all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought that they would help, and they don't. So, but
these are computer. These are designed for computers. Same thing. When I got them, it did improve. It doesn't. I can see. That's why I put this pair on better than that pair.
Yeah.
I can see the computer better. Those are more comfortable to wear. These are tight on my head.
You just got a big head, brother. I mean, it's all these successful online conferences that you do, man. It's just like it's swelling.
No.
So hey, I want to say something. I don't feel very comfortable following a beauty consultant. I mean, what? Come on, man. She knows how to look beautiful on camera. Me, I'm just stuck here in this pasty whiteness of mine, and I don't think that's fair.
People like me have to actually follow the beauty consultant to look good on camera. You just are that way naturally.
Oh, so sweet. So sweet.
He'd give me a hug if he could actually come into it.
I know. Right virtual hug. So anyways,
we live miles from each other, but we can't come to each other's houses yet. Well, you can.
We still haven't hugged.
Yeah.
No,
you know what? You just got to come over and have coffee with me. I'm telling you.
I'll wear a mask. I got my look at this. This is kind of cool. Check this out. I have my readily random mask here.
Readily random masks.
Yeah, man. So I wear my face on my face to give me the ultimate coverage. You know. So, but yeah, I'll bring you one, brother. Everybody needs a readily random mask.
I can't wear masks. I'm getting clear. I'm getting a clear shield to go down on my baseball cap because I can't. I can't. Like I have, when I go into Starbucks to get my coffee in the morning, I carry a bandana and do this to walk up to get, but I wait till I look in the window till it's ready. I walk in, grab it, and walk back out. I'm scared I think it's a claustrophobic issue that I can't take it. So now I've looked into, I was like, I got to have something. They have clear shields and you can buy them in 5-packs. It'll slide right on the bill of your cap.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's what I'm going to get. So now I can, that's my face covering. So man, but yeah, everybody who's making their own like you and branding them, hell yeah, that's brilliant.
I know, man, it's so much fun. You know what's fun is being here today, and I'm very excited to be here. I've been watching all day long, and the speakers have been phenomenal today. A lot of high-end, high-quality information that's out there, and I have a hard time following all that talent, so I'm a little nervous, to be honest with you, but thank you once again for having me, and thank you for allowing me to sponsor the event. That's really awesome. I appreciate everything you do, Tim.
I appreciate you for being one of our sponsors today and helping us put this on. Do you have slides today, Larry? Or?
I do.
All right. Let's get them shed up and get you going.
And, of course, my computer decides to think about it instead of just doing it. Let's share that screen.
Yeah, and you heard what I'm doing with my computer tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I hear that, man. That's kind of cool, though.
I got to do it. It's just not able to handle it anymore. So, there's we at? We up?
We are up, I believe. There we go. Now we're up and we're ready to rock. So,
all right, I'm setting the timer. It's on you, buddy.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Hey, everybody. Thank you once again for allowing me to speak today. This is an excellent opportunity to come together as influencers and as business leaders in the podcasting space and the blogging space, all across the board. And again, I've heard some tremendous stories today and learned a lot along the way. So speaking of stories, we're going to get into how to tell stories to help shape your audience. And hopefully you'll pick up on a tip or two and be able to start telling your own stories that help shape your audience. Now, before we begin, I'm Larry Roberts. The name of my podcast is the Readily Random Podcast. Also, I have Readily Random Media, and that's who's sponsoring the show today. I specialize in podcast graphics. I like to say that I create podcast graphics for podcast pros, and that includes one sheets and covers, cover art, your logo, whatever it may be. Hit me up. But anyhow, let's get into how to tell stories. Before we finish, this slide deck is going to be available on my website at readilyrandom.com/stories. Also, all of my social media can be found at Readily Random. That's on Twitter. That's on Instagram. It's even on the TikTok. Now, don't go looking for me on the TikTok because I still hadn't got that down yet. But I'm headed that way, unless they ban it here in the States. Then I won't be able to. But hey, if you want to contact me, you can find me on my website, readilyrandom.com, or you could shoot me a note, Larry@readilyrandom.com. Now, again, today's presentation is about maximizing your impact with vibrant storytelling. Not just lackadaisical storytelling, but vibrant, energetic storytelling. So what is storytelling for starters? Each and every one of us that are here today have taken an opportunity to tell a story. Some more precise than others, some more roundabout the way than others. And all of that is perfectly fine. Storytelling is an art form that's unique to each and every individual. We all have our own styles, but there are a few key points that you really want to focus on when you're trying to be a good storyteller. Storytelling forges connections among people. It's how we bond, and between people and ideas. See, for instance, if you have an idea that you are pitching to the Shark Tank, right? You just happen to get on Shark Tank. A buddy of mine is actually on Shark Tank, and he got to pitch a little bit, and he picked up Damon John, so that's pretty cool. But if you have an idea, you have to be able to convey that idea in a way that the listener understands and sees the value in that idea. So in order to do that, what do you have to do? You have to be able to tell a vibrant and inspirational story. You see it every week. If you watch Shark Tank, I'm a huge fan. You see it every week with every pitch, at least the ones that get picked up. They always have a great story. Stories convey the culture, the history, and the values that unite people. Right now is a perfect opportunity in our culture and in our country to tell stories to unite people. We all have our own stories and our own backgrounds. And if we were to share those in a way that allowed each of us to establish a better understanding of each other, I think we'd go a long ways in reuniting the country as a whole. History is important too, obviously. We have a lot of history. We have a lot of controversial history, and a lot of which is being destroyed right now in the country, but people don't even know why they're destroying it. They don't know the story. They don't know the history behind what's going on, and they're running around blindly. So these stories could possibly help shape the idea of, oh, this is important. Oh, this is why this is here. It informs people and bonds people. The New York Times has called a well-told story a strategic tool with irresistible power. And we all know from the Spider-Man story, Spider-Man 1, if you recall, with great power comes what? Great responsibility. So this allows us to establish ourselves as a powerful entity if we are able to tell these stories in a convincing manner. So storytelling uses words. Storytelling uses words and other methods of communication to paint a vivid picture of a story. Now, if you think back even to the caveman days, what did they do? They communicated in cave paintings. They literally painted stories. And we can go today, or if you're an archaeologist anyways, you can go today and see these cave paintings and understand their methodologies behind their storytelling. But the thing is, stories have always been a part of life. They can be written, they can be signed, as in ASL or American Sign Language. I did not do any sign language here because I don't know any sign language, except I'll be honest, I do know the alphabet. Do you know the alphabet? Let's see, what was it? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I won't go any further and bore you, but yeah, it's easy to do. That's what I got out of Sunday school. That's what I got out of Sunday school was signing. Anyways, so yes, or it can actually be tactile. You can actually feel a story, maybe in Braille, or maybe in hieroglyphics that were carved into a casket or some other pyramid or something. They carved them in the walls there, and they can be very tactile. Also visual, but tactile as well. Storytelling, it goes beyond the words. I use a variety of communication tools to tell my story, and you should maybe do something similar. Hand gestures. You see my hands are flying everywhere. Hand gestures are commonly used for emphasis. Did you feel that? Emphasis. Instead of just for emphasis. Yeah, I use my hands for emphasis. It's great. If I stand there with my hands at my sides, you can tell there's no energy and there's no emotion. And obviously, I didn't finish my slide because it says it makes, and then it just goes off into. It's allowing you to come up with your own story to finish that bullet point. How you like that? Hey, don't be afraid to make faces that convey emotion with your expressions. Don't hesitate to give them kind of a weird look or put a big old smile on your face. Maybe be angry if the tone allows it. Whatever you need to do to convey that emotion and convey your convictions in that moment. Use different voices to help distinguish unique characters. You probably heard me there. I got a little gruff with my voice in order to make that emphasis. And it's interesting because I've discovered that as I continue through and I do my Facebook Lives each and every Monday through Friday evening, I try to hit it at 6, by the way, but sometimes I have a podcast. So my guests come first, right? So I'll come on after the podcast if that's the case. But I do notice that I use a couple of voices almost exclusively. I use my voice, obviously. And then I reckon I'll use my Texas voice because for those of y'all that don't know, I'm from Dallas. And here I am in Texas, and I'm a good old boy. So now that helps, doesn't it? That helps you visualize me possibly. I can't really visualize it anymore. Me in a cowboy hat and maybe some Wrangler jeans. And then I got my Roper boots on and a nice little brush popper shirt. And I may be dating myself there because when I went cowboy for all of 2 weeks back in high school, brush popper shirts were all the rage. I don't know if they are. I have no idea about Western culture, even though I live in the deep West here. Rah. Is that a thing? The deep West? Far West? Is that like far East? Far West? Anyways. And I've never owned a horse, but hey, it is what it is. So use voices. They can definitely help you present your message in a way that otherwise might be lost. You can even hear the voices. For instance, take a voiceover artist, take a commercial, take a narrator, take anything along those lines that help you hear the emotion. You can't see it, but you can feel it and you can hear it. That allows you to shape the story in your mind. And as a good storyteller, that's your job. That's your goal. And you want to use every tool in your toolbox that will allow you to get that story across. Pacing your words. Oh man, that plays such a critical role as well. When I came out of high school, I wasn't real big on college, so I didn't go. I decided I would sell cars. I wanted to be a car salesman of all things because I talked fast and I felt like I could sell. And it took me a while, but I finally got hired at a dealership. And one of my biggest problems in selling, now don't get me wrong, I did well, especially that first year and a half, 2 years maybe, until I started learning that the dealership was getting to me worse than I was getting to the customer. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where you go, oh, now I see what's behind the curtain. This ain't no fun. But anyways, I had a good time doing it to start with. Now, what I was doing, though, is I was speaking too fast. I was showing the customer the car, and we'd go from the driver's seat all the way around the car, trunk, the hood, you name it, everything, in about 15 seconds. I'd come around there. So I was talking too fast. A lot of my customers didn't understand what I was saying because I would say several words at the same time, but it would just come out as a mumbled, jumbled mess. So learn to pace your words, learn to slow it down. But you still got to have that balance because if you go too slow, your listener may fall asleep on you. How many times have you been sitting in a speech or sitting in a classroom or maybe even sitting in church and you weren't really in tune with the message because the message was what? Man, it was just dragging. You're looking at your watch. No time has passed. Oh my God. It's because the message was coming across too slow. And you don't want that to happen with your listeners. So make sure you understand pacing. Make sure you understand emphasis. Make sure you know when to speed it up or when to slow it down. Now, did you notice too that when I sped it up, what did I do? My voice went up. And when I slowed it down, what happened? My voice got lower. So my pacing and my tone are synonymous. Well, they're not synonymous, but they're in tune with each other, and they adjust simultaneously. And that's something that it takes practice. You have to have practice with it. And, notice too, right now, what am I doing? I'm speaking with my hands. I'm trying to keep my hands inside the camera, but it's kind of hard sometimes because I flail, and I got like an 8-foot wingspan. I'm a pretty tall guy. But anyhow, use all of these tools combined together to help your storytelling be more effective. And I mentioned already, if we look at the bottom bullet point, the use of these tools can be heard even if they're not visible to the listener. That is so critical. Your emotion in your tone is so critical. It gets your point across to your listener, and it keeps your listener engaged. Watch, I've probably got like two people listening right now, and I'm they're like, man, I'm out of here. I don't want to listen to this guy. And I'm sitting here telling how to tell stories. Let me get a sip real quick. I got to get a sip of the nectar of the gods here. Little Monster Energy, because I'm short on that, right? So let's take a look at several or just a few speakers that I look up to. There's a few that really stand out. And honestly, I couldn't put them all on one slide, but somebody that may surprise you is Joel Osteen. Now, you may or may not like his message. You may or may not like his brand of religion or Christianity, but there's no doubt that the man can tell a story. I like to watch him on Sunday mornings because he tells such great stories. And he has such a unique pacing to his stories. And he has such unique emphasis in his eyes as he's talking to his congregation. Now, the interesting thing there is that Joel Osteen didn't even think he would ever make it as a pastor. He was a cameraman, and his dad was the pastor. And it took him about a year to get the confidence up to step to the pulpit and give his first sermon. And as you know now, because of his ability to tell stories, he sells out stadiums. I'm talking Yankee Stadium. He sold it out twice with the power of what? With the power of his voice, with the power of storytelling. It's just amazing. It's truly amazing. Take Warren Buffett, for instance. And by the way, he just happens to be my birthday buddy, August 30th. How cool is that? Except he's worth about 17 or 71? Probably 71 billion. And I'm worth not quite that at all. Nothing in my financials starts with a B. But he knew he had to be able to pitch what? He had to be able to pitch his ideas. And in order to pitch your ideas, what did we say about Shark Tank? You have to be able to tell a story. You have to get that story across to the listeners. And he knew that. But guess what? He's another individual that was scared to death of public speaking. It's a difficult task. It's very intimidating. I've heard many different statistics over the years, but I've heard that people are more scared of death, of dying, of no longer existing on the planet, right? They're more scared of that. I'm sorry, I got it backwards. Look at all that emphasis. I'm emphasizing incorrect terminology. They are so afraid of public speaking that they would rather die, is where I was trying to go with that. But I don't know if that's true or not. But what happened there was Mr. Buffett, he said, you know what? I got to do it. I know that's the secret to my success, right? So he took a speaking course. And that certificate of completion of that speaking course is the only certificate that's on his wall. There's no degrees. There's nothing else. There's the certificate of completion on that speaking class because he understands that storytelling is the key to his success. It's a pretty amazing story, especially for somebody that's reached the heights that Warren Buffett has reached. Take Mark Burnett, for instance. Everybody knows who Mark Burnett is, right? He creates all the greatest reality TV shows. He came to America and landed with $200, 2 bills in his pocket. That's all he had. And he worked and he scraped and he presented and he pitched and he pitched and he pitched. Spent time selling t-shirts on the beach for $18 a pop. You think he was rocking it? No, But guess what? He perfected his storytelling skills, and he learned and came up with a method of telling story based on reality. I think we all know that the reality TV shows are mostly scripted. I don't know if you've seen it lately, but if you've seen Alone, if you like reality shows, you got to check out Alone. It seems to me to be one of the few unscripted reality shows, and I love it. I love it. I love it. So it's a cool show. Check that out. But my point here is that Mark Burnett came to the United States, 2 bills in his pocket, scraped and saved and pitched. And now what? He had Survivor. I don't even know, is Survivor still on? I quit watching it a long time ago, but it was on forever if it's not on now. Take a look at, there's my favorite, Shark Tank, another Mark Burnett presentation. What are some of his others? I can't think of any more off the top of my head, but the man has his hand in just about every primetime reality show that's out there. And it's all because he can tell a story. He can tell a pitch. He can give a pitch around a story. Now, a lot of you are going, man, that sounds great, Larry, but I just don't know how to do it. I have no idea how to do it. So let's talk about some of the skills that you can master in order to improve your storytelling. So a good storyteller injects emotion into their stories. Emotion makes the difference between captivating and giving a cure for insomnia. Once again, we don't want that to happen. We want to engage with our listener. We want to establish a connection, a rapport with our listeners. And you do that by injecting emotion. We've all heard that monotone speaker. We've all heard it before. And we know that we're not connected with that. We have no idea what they're saying because they don't emphasize. They don't give emotion. They don't make a connection. The other thing that's important is that good storytellers, they know their narrative. They know their story. Understand that a story is simply a series of events that happened in a specific timeline. If you get that timeline mixed up, kind of ruins the story. You just saw me do that a little while ago, kind of ruined my whole point about Warren Buffett. So what you have to do is you have to know your narrative, know that timeline, know the sequence of events, and deliver the sequence of events with emotion and with passion whenever you need to add it throughout the timeline. People should know that you're coming up near the end of your story, and they know it because they feel a rise in the tension of the story. They know it. It's like watching a movie and you know the ending's coming. You know we're close. Not because you've been watching the clock, not because you've been pausing it and seeing how much time is left on the screen, right? So many movies, I'm like, dude, how long is let's see, another hour and 10 minutes. It's horrible. But the good movies, you're just like, oh, I know. Oh, he's about to get her. He's about to, she got him. You know, that kind of thing. But know your narrative. That's so, so important. Now, I kind of mentioned this a minute ago. Good storytellers also create rapport. Now, there's kind of you're kind of putting yourself out there a little bit, because in order to establish rapport with someone, you have to make yourself fairly vulnerable. Now, just how vulnerable you make yourself varies depending on the story and depends on the listener. If I'm trying to create a rapport with a therapist, I'm probably going to expose all of my inner secrets, all of my inner demons to this therapist and really put it all on the line and just be raw with this individual. But if I'm telling a story, I might tell a story where I made a little mistake, or I'm kind of this way, or I have this emotion, or you might just let yourself out of the bag just a little bit to show your humanity to the individual or the group that you're speaking to. Good storytellers practice their craft. Practice. You have to practice. There's a variety of ways to do that. There's opportunities all around you, but the bottom line is that you have to practice. You have to do it. There is no suddenly I have this skill. You can't sit in a classroom and establish a skill or get book knowledge on how to give a speech and get up and speak to someone and have it resonate with them. So let's take a look at some of the ways that we can practice storytelling. Again, it takes time and infinite amounts of practice to perfect your speaking ability, to perfect your storytelling ability. One of the great ways to do this is to spend time listening to other great storytellers. How am I going to learn? Watch someone that does it well. I mentioned earlier that I enjoy watching Joel Osteen, again, not for his religion, not necessarily for the content, but because the man is such an engaging speaker. And I want to learn that. I want to master that. I want to know what he's doing and how he's doing it. It's not so often that I even hear the words that he's saying as much as I watch his technique. Sometimes you'll want to listen to the words that they're saying. They may be delivering a story that will help you down the road tell your own stories. You might see the way they emphasize a word. You might see the way they cut off a sentence just to make an impression. So many different techniques go into good storytelling, and there are so many great speakers out there that will set a phenomenal example for you. Maybe, just maybe, you could join a Toastmasters group. I don't know if anybody has heard of Toastmasters, but they're a speaking club, and I used to go to Toastmasters. It's been 2 decades since I've been, but I used to go on the regular because it's a perfect opportunity for you to hone your speaking craft, hone your storytelling craft. And a little story for Olaire here, to brag a little bit. The dean of the local community college was in my Toastmasters group. He and I squared off side by side, speech by speech, story by story. And I snagged the blue ribbon. I beat him. It was so awesome. It was amazing. And just from that point on, I just knew that speaking was something that I could do. I knew it. And I still have the blue ribbon. It's in the other room. I should have brought it in here for emphasis. But yes, I beat out the dean of the local community college. Tell me that's not bragging rights. But I recommend you join a Toastmasters group. What it'll do is it'll get you around other people with the same goals that you have, the same desire to be able to tell stories like you can tell them, the same desire to practice, and you'll get that practice in a variety of different ways. One of my favorites was table topics. And the reason I like table topics is because you never knew what the topic was going to be. The way we did it in our group was we had a hat full of topics, and you simply pulled out a topic. And you had to speak for, I think it was 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. It felt like forever on that topic. And you had to just pull it right out of the air and go at it. And that's something that as speakers, we need to be able to do. That's something that as storytellers, we need to be able to do. And Toastmasters and table topics is one of the greatest ways that I found to do that. Now, you'll also have the opportunity to give full speeches. You can even go to speech competitions. You can go national. It's a big organization, and their goal is to help you become a better storyteller. Now, something that you're going to want to practice as well is the tone of your voice. I mentioned this a little while ago because tone sets the stage for the emotion that the audience is supposed to hear. Now, something that you're going to want to do just out of safety for you. What safety? What's dangerous about giving a speech? Well, if you don't take care of your voice is going to take care of you. And one of the things that you don't want to do is you want to steer clear of vocal fry. And that's just kind of talking with like back here, real crazy voices. And like you'll hear it when like with Valley Girls, they'll really just change it and they talk on the back of their throat and they don't let their real voice come out. That's very damaging to your vocal cords. I probably need some of my vocal spray. And honestly, because I speak so often and I speak so much, I do use a couple of products to keep my vocal cords in shape. And I'm not sponsored by these, but I'm just suggesting these. Vocal Ease is great if you speak a lot and you find that your tonsils, or not your tonsils, but your vocal cords are becoming irritated, maybe scratchy, maybe you want to cough. Some Vocal Ease is great. I highly recommend it. And then I have these little lozenges called Vocal Zone. They're awesome as well. They're kind of a minty, fresh little pastille, I think is what they call them. But I recommend both. I use them both regularly. And I promise you, I can tell a huge difference when I don't use my care packages as compared to when I do, because my voice gets very, very raspy, and I don't sound good. I don't sound like myself. Now I'm 48 too, so the vocal cords they've been used for a while, So, but still, I recommend you come up with some sort of regimen for your vocal cords to maintain your voice. Now, last but not least, be confident in your delivery. You got to be confident. You got to go out there and know that you own that stage, that you own this story, that you own this talk or presentation, or you own this podcast. If you listen to my podcast, there's one thing that you're definitely going to notice, and that is confidence. I'm confident in my delivery. I'm confident in what I'm doing and who I'm speaking to with my podcast. And something that's even more fun, I believe it was Joe Pardo that mentioned it earlier. Shout out to Big Joe Pardo. I talk to a variety of people on my podcast. It's called Readily Random. Why? Because I wanted to talk to anybody and everybody that had a phenomenal story to share. It's all about sharing the stories of my guests. And I've had everybody on my show, from recovered addicts to gentleman that he's in second place now. Somebody's beat him out for the largest bank robbery in the history of the United States. Like I said, he's in second place now. He's been on my show. I've had the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. You name it. There's a wide variety of people there. And guess what? I was able to talk to each one individually. We didn't struggle because I followed the tenets of storytelling. I followed the techniques of storytelling that allowed me to connect with my guest. And even if my guest was struggling a little bit with their story, I tend to try to help them along the way. So be confident in your delivery. Keep in mind that your story will radically transform your business, your podcast, and the lives of each and every person you touch. We're in a very advantageous position, especially right now. As podcasters and bloggers and content creators, we are who people are looking to for entertainment. Hollywood's on lockdown. Everything's frozen. People don't want to watch reruns. Who likes reruns? Occasionally you catch one that you like, right? But overall, nobody wants to watch reruns. I've already seen it. So they're turning to independent content creators for their entertainment. We don't know if this will ever happen again. I highly doubt that it will. Hopefully not, right? This pandemic sucks. Not a fan. But I am a fan of the opportunity that it provides. Ideas that catch on, they're always wrapped in stories. I've emphasized that a couple of times throughout this presentation. Any pitch needs to be a story. You need to shape it as a story. You need to make it so they can relate. No one can relate to just statistics, unless you're a statistician. Then I guess you can. The average individual doesn't want to hear a list of statistics. They want to hear a story. And remember that your story, it can change the world. How powerful is that? Your story can change the world. That is power. That is power in your hands, in your throat. It's a lot. It's a lot to digest. So the question is, isn't it time that you shared your story? I think so. Once again, this slide deck is going to be available at readilyrandom.com/stories. And you can find me at readilyrandom. You can find me readilyrandom.com or shoot me an email, larry@readilyrandom.com. I'm all over Facebook. Feel free to reach out there as well. That's usually my primary social media platform, but I'm also on LinkedIn, Twitter a lot. So check me anywhere there. I look forward to hearing from you, and I really appreciate your time today. Oh, by the way, if you want to, head out and subscribe to the podcast. I'd really appreciate that. Again, the podcast is Readily Random. Head out to your favorite podcatcher, subscribe, and listen to me tell some stories.
Hi.
Hey.
That's pretty good today, man.
Was it? I felt a little fired up.
He was always a fired up guy, but today he was on fire. So anyway, as I'm waiting for the next person who is supposed to be in the green room is not, I'm like getting all sweaty. Oh my gosh.
I can give another one, Tim. Yeah. I got another one on deck. I can do it right now.
Yeah. Here he comes. No, You get followed up by Mr. Expert on StreamYard. So,
oh, is that who Ross Brand is up next?
Ross is up next.
Ross Brand is the man.
Yeah.
He's got all the insides and the outsides and all the tricks of the trade. He is the man when it comes to video streaming. Listen to the guy. He knows.
After 40 years of learning something, he can still teach me something. I don't know what it is. He's good.
He's always got the inside scoop, man.
Larry, I appreciate you, my friend. All right. Thank you for sponsoring our event, and readilyrandom.com. Go check out Larry.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. See you next time.